think I postponed twice because of a blizzard and because the Phillies were in the, I think it was like the playoffs or the World Series or something like that, same day. And we postponed the show till a week later. But I had never postponed it. So he went on there and badmouthed me about canceling those two shows. Other fans stuck up for me, concentrate on your business. He bashed me. So then when he had the convention and then he canceled his next show, I went on and bashed him. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Same thing. So I don't understand why, like, he bashed me for postponing two shows, and then he just started a new promotion, ran 3 shows, canceled the show. No difference.
I gotta disagree there. Obviously, you know, there was a huge falling out with his partner at the Boardwalk Beatdown. So you really can't have all that happen and then run 3 weeks later under the same name. You kind of need to distance yourself from what happened. So I don't. Because standalone wrestling still exists. It's not like he's changing. He didn't change the company and change the name. He just.
Yeah, but I had the same problem with the guy from the Bourbon Room. I mean,
right. No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying yours is any different than him. I'm just saying I disagree that you know I think he should have canceled it. There was just too much negativity that was going on, and a lot of the talent that was probably on that show was a lot that was involved in all that nonsense that went on after the post-convention festivities that weekend. So he would have had zero time to fill all those spots on the card and advertise because he only had 3 weeks to do so. So instead of just running an absolute disaster, it was probably a smart idea for him to cancel it.
Well, I mean, he already had the show planned, so you're saying that those talents were going to cancel on him?
Well, a lot of his talents that he was using were involved in the bullshit that was going on at Boardwalk Beatdown. And a lot of the people that were going to help him, were helping, like the CZW students and stuff, were involved in helping set up the ring crew.
Well, basically two sides. The CZW guys Dojo War guys were all on Preacher's side, basically.
Well, naturally.
Right. And then I don't know who was on Chad's side.
Chad was by himself. It was 11 on 1. So that tells you the credibility of some of the people that were involved in that. That 11 people needed to jump Chad because they felt that they deserved more than they were entitled. They weren't entitled to squat. Let's just put it that way.
Well, that's how it is in the wrestling business. I mean, listen, we have guys that come in, we push them to the moon, they win every title, they get everything that they can out of you, and then you know what? They don't need you no more.
Well, the problem is that these are kids, and they're students, and they should be taught better than the way they acted. Absolutely should be taught better.
Well, listen, I had opened a school, as you know, and you get guys that come in, they're not even trained 3 weeks, and they want a match already. Yeah. They already want to be in the main event.
Yep.
I don't know if you know, when I wrestled back in the day, 1990 to 92, it wasn't like that back then, you know? You didn't open your mouth up. You didn't come in and expect to have a match as soon as you. These guys aren't even trained, and they want a match already.
Yep. Well, it's got to start from the bottom.
You went into a locker room, you shook everybody's hand, and you didn't say peep.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, these young kids come up, and listen, I had a guy. He was with us, Vinny Tolato. His dad's going to ruin his career. I mean, he wanted his kid to be champion. I mean, he's only 16 years old. You know what I mean? He hasn't even paid his dues yet, but because he was the only one to pay his tuition off first and fast, he thought he was entitled.
Right.
You know, and then you start to push someone, and these guys get a big head.
I don't disagree with that at all.
Now, in wrestling, Chad lost a lot of guys, basically. But in wrestling, listen, there's a lot of guys, they don't like me. I've had arguments with guys, and guess what? If I call them up next week and say, you want to work? They'll say, okay. They don't care. You know why? And it's not even about the money. It's the chance to perform in front of the crowd, to be on that stage and be in the main event. That's what it's about. They're living their dream. There was a time before, listen, before Joe Gacy, we had a little thing online. I called him up. I messaged him like a week after that. Hey, you want to work? Sure. And he's been wrestling every month for us for a couple of years now.
Is he still?
Yeah, he's the Mid-Atlantic champion.
Okay. I don't know. I wasn't just.
I think Joe's a great guy. I mean, he's well liked by everybody. I mean, the fans love him. He's great in the ring. We've had no issues with him whatsoever.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions. I mean, we got the whole situation with Chad, which I think that got a little carried away after a while with the back and forth, and then you blocked him, so you.
Well, you know what I started to do now when people start shit with me online. I don't have time for that bullshit. I'm busy, so I just block them and delete them. I don't want to deal with that.
Yeah,
shit.
But you blocked them, but you continue to call him out and continue to razz him either on the radio show or on Facebook posts.
Listen, he's welcome to call in anytime. And also, when anyone blocks anybody, everybody's going to find out about it because people screenshot things and send it to them.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But you still don't have to deal with the back and forth shit. You know what I mean?
It went back and forth for a week straight. After your first show to the photo that you posted.
That's over with. I've moved on.
Oh, how far have you moved on? You literally just were on your radio show a couple days ago talking about him.
No, I don't really remember what I was saying a couple days ago.
Okay. All right. So, one of the questions I had, because you purchased this company in what year?
2010.
2010.
I started running TWA. I brought it back October 24th, 2009. I'm not sure if you even heard of TWA, but if there was never a TWA, there would have never been an ECW, and that's a fact. Joe Goodhart started the TWA back in, I think, late 1989.
Okay. Now, the reason why I asked this is because, you put on a show where you said it was your 51st anniversary show with ECWA, but, from what I'm being told and the research I did is ECWA only dates back into the 80s.
Well, I purchased the company in 2010. The owner states that the company started in 1967. And the thing is when I took that company over, I didn't even believe it was started in 1967. But you know what? When I said something like that, the people didn't believe me. They believed the previous owner. Jim Kettner is like gold. People love Jim Kettner.
Yeah, but is Jim Kettner the owner, or Jim Kettner was brought in as a partner by a team? Team.
That's what that guy Mad Dog Selly says. That's hearsay. Who says that was true because he said that?
I'm just, again, it's public research to go out and just read.
The only research on that thing is that guy's telling you that. Well, research him because that guy was in jail before.
Well, the research I'm doing is the fact that the school, Jim Kettner ran a school that dated back to 1967, but ECWA wasn't created until the 80s, and then the Hall of Fame was created in 1982. So if the Hall of Fame was created in 1982 and nobody was added prior to no talent was added that worked before 1980, to me, simple math, it can't be 51 years old. His school is 51 years old, but the company's not 51 years old.
Well, I didn't know. I was 2 years old back in 1967, so I don't really know. You know, nobody knows. You know what I mean? But everybody believed 1967 was when ECWA was created. For that, you're going to have to get Jim Kettner on the line. I mean,
which was we attempted.
I don't think he will answer, but hey, I'll give you his phone number, and you call him and get him on the phone.
No, we reached out to him through someone else. He didn't want to get involved, which whatever, it doesn't matter. But
of course.
Okay. So getting back to some of the questions I had.
But I do have programs back from 1980, 82. I have a few programs that was given to me by fans that actually still come to the shows now that went back then.
Okay. Well, I said the Hall of Fame was created in 1982, so you figure the company couldn't have started much before that, if at all. Because why would you have a Hall of Fame?
You'd have to get Jim Kettner on the line. He's telling me 1967. The fans think it's 1967, so must be 1967. Just like when Vince McMahon tells you something, you believe it.
Yeah, well, only if you're freaking ridiculously retarded, you would believe anything Vince McMahon tells you to believe, because they rewrite history in the version that they want you to believe anyway.
Exactly.
So,
but I don't think that has anything to do. ECWA brings in a lot of great talent, and when people don't like me, instead of bashing me, they bash ECWA. What they need to do is just bash me. You know what I mean? We're bringing in talent. Kakoa. He's one of the best guys on the Indies. Azrael. I mean, Chris Wilde, Sean Carr. We've had a lot of great talent in ECWA, and then for them to put on there, it's as exciting as watching paint dry. They're saying that the talent sucks.
Yeah, I don't think that's where it was intended. It wasn't intended.
Well, no, but they won't say that. Listen, they won't say that because they're the boys and they don't want to get no heat with them. You know.
90% of the boys in the locker room and girls in the locker room aren't going to pay attention to that crap anyway, because they're just going to want to come, show up, and get paid and work. So it doesn't really matter.
That's right. There's not too many guys that come in anymore that will offer to help set up the ring, help set up the chairs, break down this stuff. They don't know all the work that goes involved in putting the show together.
Okay, and getting back, you mentioned that you've run in Woodbury Heights, and I attended an ECWA show. Now, did you work with Chris Levin of Valkyrie?
Yeah, he wrecked a couple of our shows.
All right, because I've never been to an ECWA show, and when I met Deonna Purrazzo, at a Valkyrie wrestling show, women's show.
I don't know. It looked like it was at our event. I do know that Valkyrie did run a show there.
Yes,
one show there.
They ran a show there, and we had a blizzard that night.
Yeah.
So, because I was a little confused. You said that on your radio show, and I was like, I've never been to an ECWA show.
Well, I had somebody sent me a picture of you and Deonna. It looked exactly like our show. I'd have to look at it again.
Well, the background is at Woodbury Heights. That's probably why.
Yeah.
I've only been to Woodbury Heights twice. Once was for Matt Tremont's convention, fan fest, and show that he put on, and the other one was for the Valkyrie show. That's the only two times I was ever in that building.
Right.
Also, to answer a couple of questions of your super fan Kevin that called into your show, I don't work for Chad, and obviously Chad does not work for me. I work with Chad, and I work with a dozen plus more promoters all over the Northeast. That's what I do. I bring in talent. I bring them to shows.
Yeah,
I don't work for.
I know what you do.
Yeah, I don't work for anybody. I work for myself.
Yeah, I never said this.
No, I'm answering to him. This is what he said on your show. Okay. Right. Now, getting back to, you mentioned about taking pay cuts for that particular